Have you ever seen something that just didn't feel right? One of those weird internet mysteries that makes you wonder if you've spotted a glitch in the matrix? Well, we're going to dive deep into that feeling. Because what if those glitches aren't random? What if they're a feature, not a bug, in the very operating system of our reality?
Okay, let's start with a classic, one that probably brought a lot of you here. I want you to think way back to your childhood. Picture those books with the family of friendly bears. Now, how do you spell their last name? Really think about it. Was it with an A or an E?
If you are absolutely certain it was Berenstain with an E, well, you're not going crazy. And you're not alone. Millions of people share that exact same vivid and technically incorrect memory. This isn't just a typo. It's a massive, shared false memory that we now call the Mandela Effect.
Right. So this is way bigger than a simple spelling bee mistake. We are talking about a fundamental glitch in our memory, a crack in our shared understanding of the past. So the real question is, what's causing it?
Now, the easy explanation is to just say, our brains are weird and make mistakes. But that's kind of boring, isn't it? The theory we're exploring today is so much more interesting. It suggests that this glitch is not a random error. It's a predictable, systematic consequence of a much deeper system running in the background of our minds.
So what is this system? Where's the code that's causing these reality bugs? Well, the hypothesis points to something we use every single day, something we're using right now. Language. What if the very words we create are the source code for these glitches? Okay, check this out. Let's look at two words, déjà vu and nostalgia. Déjà vu is that weird, uncanny feeling you've been in this exact moment before. Nostalgia is that warm, fuzzy longing for the past. But think about it. Couldn't you argue that nostalgia is basically just the desire to have the feeling of déjà vu? We created two different words, but are they just two sides of the very same coin?
And here is where it gets wild. This is not just a word game. Neurologically, they are practically the same experience. Brain scans show a staggering 70% overlap in the parts of your brain that light up when you feel nostalgia and when you feel déjà vu. Our brains are having one unified experience, but our language forces us to split it into two.
So here's the process, the mechanism of the glitch. Step 1, your brain has a single unified experience. Step 2, our language artificially separates it, forcing it into one of two boxes, nostalgia or déjà vu. Step 3, this creates a conflict, a dissonance. It's like trying to save a file with the wrong extension. When your brain tries to retrieve that memory later, this conflict can cause an error. The brain struggles to reconcile the flawed word with the real feeling, and it basically guesses to fill in the blank. And in that guess, a tiny detail gets changed. An A becomes an E. The glitch in memory is born from a glitch in language.
Okay, but that only explains what's happening inside one person's head. How does my little mental file corruption spread to you and to millions of other people? How does a private error become a public, shared reality?
This is where it gets really mind-bending. Because to understand how a personal glitch goes viral, we have to talk about the engine that can turn a simple fiction into a full-blown, large-scale reality.
The word for this is hyperstition. And no, that's not a typo for superstition. Hyperstition is the idea that some fictions, some stories, don't just describe reality, they actively create it. It's when a belief becomes so widespread that it starts to function as if it were true, creating a powerful feedback loop that makes it real.
So here's how that loop works for the Mandela Effect. First, you have that tiny linguistic fiction, the dissonance, that causes a small memory error in a few people. But then they talk about it. They go online. They post on forums. The collective discussion reinforces the possibility of the false memory. The more people that say, wait a minute, I remember Berenstain too, the stronger the fiction gets. Eventually, that fiction becomes a functionally real shared memory for millions. It's a glitch that powered itself into existence.
And this, of course, leads to a pretty chilling question. If our shared fictions, our language, our stories, our memes can literally bend reality on a mass scale, who's writing the script?
That question pulls us out of the world of brain science and drops us right into the world of power. Because if this hyperspatial loop is a real thing, a real tool for shaping belief, you gotta ask, is anyone pulling the levers? Who are the architects trying to build a reality with these tools?
The philosopher Gilles Deleuze had a fascinating idea. He said we moved from an old disciplinary society, controlled by physical things like factory walls and prison bars, to a new society of control. In this new society, control is fluid, it's everywhere, and it's based on information and modulation.
It's less about locking you in a room and more about keeping you in a state of psychological debt. It's a cage made of code, not concrete. In this new world, you don't need an army to have influence. You can shape an entire culture using what's called soft power. You do it by funding the right art, sponsoring the right media, creating influential groups, shaping narratives on social media, funding university departments. These are the modern tools you use to write the fictions that an entire society lives by.
Now, if you're thinking this all sounds a bit like a conspiracy theory, listen to this. This is a direct quote from Carl Gershman, the founder of the National Endowment for Democracy. He openly admitted that his organization was created to do, out in the open, what the CIA used to do in secret. That takes this abstract idea of shaping reality and makes it terrifyingly real and documented.
Okay, so we're living in a reality where language itself can create glitches, and powerful systems can write the fictions we live inside. How in the world do we navigate that? Well, this last part is about a mental tool for doing exactly that.
And this tool comes from a very unexpected place. Sir Isaac Newton. Not Newton the physicist, but Newton the philosopher. He warned everyone about a huge intellectual mistake he called gross prejudice. And what he meant was the error of mixing up different ways of knowing things, like trying to use the rules of science to explain faith or using introspection to do physics.
Newton was a genius at creating a kind of intellectual hygiene. He carefully separated knowledge into 3 buckets: what we know from faith, what we know from observing the world, and what we know from looking inside our own minds. By keeping these separate, by building firewalls between them, he achieved incredible clarity and avoided getting his signals crossed. He decoded the blueprint by refusing to let one system's rules corrupt another's.
Which brings us right back to the start. The Berenstain Bears might just be a funny little symptom of a massive process, a tiny glitch that reveals just how deeply our reality is built from stories, from fictions, from the very words we choose. So the real takeaway is this question: if fictions create a reality, who is writing yours?